Welcome everyone, my name is Magdalena and you're listening to Home and Heart Methods. This podcast is dedicated to all people who see themselves as sensitive, emotional, introverted, or simply easily overwhelmed with everything that is going on in the outside world. In the course of our conversations, we will try to understand ourselves better and find techniques that will first of all help us rest, regain our balance, find some inner strength, and then we will focus on techniques that can, to put it in a nutshell, help us get things done. Techniques that will be useful in dealing with everyday tasks, some small tasks like cleaning the apartment, and some big tasks like, for example, finding a new job. All of these can be challenging to all people, but I believe they are especially challenging to people who are very sensitive. My name is Magdalena. I'm an educated psychologist, but I spent my whole adult life working as a teacher, and my biggest passion is writing. But most of all, I have in my heart deep love for humanity, for this world. I would love to do everything I can to protect it, to save it, to help. I know, of course, that it is impossible for one person to do, but I decided to create this podcast because I have a small hope that maybe what I have to say will support somebody, will help somebody, even one person in this whole world. I see myself as a very sensitive person, very emotional, very introverted also, so recording audios or videos is a big challenge for me. So before we begin, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing these few minutes with me. Who knows, maybe together we will understand sensitivity a little bit better. We begin by talking about thing which is extremely important for all people, but I believe it's even more crucial for everybody who sees him or herself as emotional and sensitive, namely tiredness. So today we are talking about feeling tired, exhausted, overwhelmed, or easily overstimulated with everything that is going on in our lives. First, we will try to understand what may be the reason of said tiredness, and then we'll try to think about what we can do about it. The first thing I would like to say is that when we talk about tiredness in this podcast, we mean tiredness that cannot be explained by any medical condition. If you wake up in the morning and you feel exhausted, I would suggest that the first thing worth doing would be consulting a specialist, visiting a doctor, because biological health is something we should always take care of, and there is a chance that our tiredness can be explained this way. But here we are talking about different feeling. We are talking about situation when, biologically speaking, everything is fine, but we just feel that we cannot rest enough. We are also talking about situations when we wake up well rested, but all we have to do is step outside for 10-15 minutes and we are completely drained from energy and we are ready to come home once again. In this episode, we will put this problem under a microscope and we will use the lens of two personality traits, being a sensitive person and being an introvert as opposed to being an extrovert. Well, first let's talk for a moment about what is actually introversion and extraversion, and how these two concepts can be connected with tiredness and exhaustion. I'm sure you've heard these terms before. They are very popular in our world today. They are widely discussed from various different perspectives, and they are understood differently by different specialists. I understand introversion and extraversion as personality traits. They are two ends of the same continuum, but it is very rare that somebody can be placed completely on one end or on the other. We usually have a mix of introverted and extroverted traits, but usually we also lean more to one direction. Well, the first myth that should definitely be put aside and never even considered again is that extroverts are those who like people and introverts are those who don't like people. This is definitely not true. Being introvert or being extrovert has very little to do with actually liking somebody or not liking somebody. It has everything to do with the balance of stimulation that is needed for us to feel comfortable. Now, I will try to avoid the psychological jibber jabber as much as I can. So, just to explain, when we talk about the level of stimulation, we are talking about everything that our bodies, our minds, our brains, our senses receive during the day. We all need a particular level of stimulation to feel balanced. If we get too little stimulation, we get bored or we feel uneasy. We feel that something is missing, that we just need to do something. We can even move our hands. We feel the need to stand up and walk around or to talk to somebody. It is very often visible when we look at children who try to sit right for 45 minutes during the lesson in school, and they even move their feet to give themselves a little bit more stimulation because they just are understimulated, so to speak. On the other hand, if we get too much stimulation, we get quickly and easily overstimulated. We need to put more and more energy into processing every additional information, and then we simply reach the level when we cannot absorb anything more. We are just simply done. We really need to get some rest, and we really need to be surrounded by darkness and quietness. So why is this so important? Of course, every information we receive from the outside world needs to be analyzed, right, on some level. We see something and our brain needs to understand that what we are looking at is a tree, for example, right? And there's a bird singing on the branch, and the bird is singing, and we also enjoy this bird singing. So we start feeling some sort of emotion, some sort of positive reaction to the bird. Maybe at the same time we start remembering that we were 5 years old. We saw a bird that was sitting on the branch outside the window of our grandma's house, and maybe this is where our brain goes. All that takes our energy. So if we go back to introverts and extroverts, and if we consider for a moment psychological theory that leads a bit to biological explanation, we may find information that brains of introverts are believed to be naturally in a higher state of arousal than brains of extroverted people. Let's just add here one more quick thought. Modern neuroscience would put it a bit differently. Modern neuroscience would say that introvert brains show greater reactivity to stimuli, so they respond more strongly and quickly to all external or internal stimuli. And that's why, in simpler terms, we can say that introverts' brains tend to keep higher level of arousal because they just react more strongly and more quickly to everything that is going on around and inside them. if we consider that we all need some balanced level, right, of stimulation every day, we cannot just sit in nothingness. We need to get in contact with the world and with ourselves. We may understand that if introverted brains are naturally a bit already more aroused, it means that, first of all, every information they receive will be more intense. And secondly, it's very possible that they already are very close to this perfect balance that we all need. And they don't need that much extra stimulation to feel good. Extroverted people have this lower level of natural arousal. That's why they need more outside stimuli to reach this perfectly balanced level and to feel good. That's why maybe extroverts are those who just get in touch with other people more. They seem to enjoy long conversations that don't necessarily need to go on very deep level. They can, but they don't need to, because even just a funny, light, enjoyable conversation can be enough to provide this additional stimulation that extroverts need to feel balanced, right? Introverts reach this level faster. That's why they have the smaller need to get in touch with the outside world. That's just one perspective, one small part of the truth. And please, let's not take it as the whole picture, because human being is a beautiful, extremely complicated mosaic. It's like a puzzle built from very small pieces. And even more importantly, it's a three-dimensional puzzle. Somebody may say even four-dimensional puzzle if we consider also feelings and emotions, if we see them as another dimension. But I'm not trying to go into metaphysical discussions here. I'm just trying to say that human beings are extremely beautiful and very complicated, and we are just taking one little part of the truth to understand another little part of the truth. So this second piece of puzzle may be connected with so-called dopamine reward system. Well, when we do something that we find pleasant, when we, for example, try something new, or we engage in a very, very pleasant conversation, we get positive response from our bodies. Namely, we feel happy, we feel pleased, we feel this jolt of joy inside. Well, part of this response is dopamine that is released in our brains, a hormone that just makes us feel good. One of the explanations why extroverts enjoy being in the outside world so much is connected to this dopamine reward system, which works more effectively in the brains of extroverts. So we may say that extroverts get stronger dopamine response for the things they do outside in the world than introverts. That's why introverts don't look so much for these external rewards. Introverts can feel rewarded simply by being with themselves, analyzing their own thoughts, spending time in their inner world, because their dopamine reward system that is connected with doing things outside is less active than the system in the brain of an extroverted person. The third piece of a puzzle we want to use here is the theory proposed by Dr. Elaine Aron. If you are a person who is very emotional, very introverted, very shy, you probably heard about theory proposed by Dr. Elaine Aron. Maybe you heard the term highly sensitive person. There are people who agree with this theory. There are people who present counter-arguments, who don't follow the theory. I must say that the book by Elaine Aron changed my life in a very positive way, because for the first time in my life I started seeing my high sensitivity as an amazing positive trait that can be life changing and that can change the world. But to put it in a nutshell, let's say that highly sensitive person is somebody who processes all the information he or she receives on a much deeper level and in more details than somebody who is not highly sensitive. This high sensitivity just makes our brain and our mind absorb everything on a much deeper level and analyze it in a much more detailed way. So, if we take all these three elements together, if I think that I am an introvert, so my brain may be more aroused than the brain of somebody who is next to me, who is more extroverted. If I then remember that maybe that person next to me gets stronger positive reactions from interactions in the outside world, and if I then consider the fact that maybe my brain needs to analyze everything on a much deeper level than an average brain, I can understand why dealing with the outside world is more difficult for me. I am a person who doesn't need that much outside stimulation. There is some stimulation that I need, and I truly enjoy meeting people, talking to people, but I reach this balanced level very quickly. So everything that is happening after I reach this balanced level leads to me being overstimulated, and I get overstimulated very easily. I can go to a party fully ready to just have fun. I can enjoy being surrounded by people I like, but after 10-15 minutes, I am ready to go home. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't like fun or that I don't like people. It has everything to do with the fact that I'm tired because my brain is overstimulated and needs to use more and more and more energy to analyze every additional piece of information that is delivered to it. So, what the only thing that I dream about is going home, being by myself, and resting. If you are an introverted person, you probably know what I'm talking about. This feeling of guilt that we get when we feel that, oh my, we like people, we like the person we are talking to, but we are just tired and we just want to go home. And it has nothing to do with that person, it's just we don't have any more energy. When I was younger, I used to blame myself a lot in these situations. I thought that there's something wrong with me, that I am weak, that I am not like a normal person, so to speak. Now that I'm older, I understand that everything is fine with me. It's just my energy got completely depleted because I needed to analyze too much information in too short time. If we want to oversimplify things and put them in a very, very big nutshell, we may feel tempted to say that extroverted people are those who charge their batteries while they are with others, and introverted people are those who charge their batteries while they are alone. Well, it is not that simple, and we shouldn't just draw this one simple conclusion because introverted people can get extra energy from talking to others, but they will always look for deep, meaningful conversations. They will look for close, intimate relationships that are always based on truthfulness, honesty, because they invest a lot of energy into every interaction. That's why they will look for more meaningful connections. They also know that they don't need that much outside stimulation, so it is very possible that every conversation will lead to some sort of overstimulation, and that makes those conversations even more special. Extroverted people seem to really charge batteries while they are outside in the world, because they need this additional stimuli, this stimulation to reach this perfect balance level when they get enough stimulation, but they don't get too much. And until they reach the level, they seem to absorb energy from every type of stimulation. They can talk to other people for hours on end because they just enjoy the fact that they get more and more and more stimulation, more information until they reach that level. But also extroverted people can get overstimulated. It will just take them longer time. And then they also need to come home and be alone and rest to recharge their batteries, so to speak. But it will probably take them a shorter time because it will be easier for them to come back to this level when they need extra stimulation again. Introverted people can get a lot of wonderful, let's say, fun, and they can have a good time simply by being alone, being with themselves, because they are focused inwards. And that means, if we think about it, that they can get a lot of wonderful experiences and wonderful stimulation, wonderful information, simply by being with themselves, by being in their own inner world. So, if we say that introverts recharge their batteries when they are alone, we don't really mean that they are alone, like that they do nothing. We usually mean that they engage in contact with themselves and they enjoy these types of stimulation they can get simply by being with themselves, thinking about things, analyzing things, feeling their emotions, maybe listening to music that they truly love, maybe dancing, maybe using their bodies and feeling this type of stimulation. Maybe if you are like me, overthinking and imagining words which were never said and analyzing scenarios which didn't happen and thinking what I should have or could have or shouldn't have said or done. So this is what I tend to do, which is not the best thing. Whatever I do, it is always a wonderful time for me, a time where I feel truly connected with myself, and it doesn't mean that I do nothing. I actually do a lot. It's just my concentration is focused inside me. But it doesn't mean that I don't get any type of information or that I don't receive any stimulation. It's just different type, the type that gives me a lot of satisfaction and a lot of rewards. So, going back to the topic of our podcast, why are we talking about all this? Well, if we consider everything we have said so far, we may understand why people who are introverted or highly sensitive get tired so easily and so quickly. They can leave the house in the morning, they can go to work, spend 20 minutes at work, and they feel that they are done. They're ready to come back home and rest because their energy seems to be completely depleted. They are tired, they are exhausted. It may be also easier for us to understand why we are so overstimulated and so tired when we come back home finally after a long day, and why the feeling of more responsibilities that wait for us at home, why this feeling that we cannot just be alone, be by ourselves, engage in this wonderful contact with our inner selves, is so devastating, because we need that. We need that for our sanity, for our well-being. It's not something that we imagine that we need. It's an actual need. Just like we have to drink water, we need to eat, we need to sleep, we also need alone time. So if we are in an ideal, so to speak, situation, and we actually can come back home and just be by ourselves, Everything is fine. But the problem appears when our homes don't take care of us in the way that we need them to. What I mean is that very often we don't actually have in our homes a space that will be truly and only ours, and we don't really have the right and the time to go there, close the door, and be alone, for example, for half an hour. Maybe we live with family and there is a lot of chaos all around us, a lot of noise, a lot of people speaking at once. Maybe we have small children that need our constant attention. Maybe we rent just a room in a flat and there are other people around us, for example, who like to listen to loud music in the middle of the night. Maybe we have flatmates who are very nice people, but they like to talk loudly while they cook dinner, for example. I had flatmates like that. I liked them. I loved them, actually. There were two men from Africa, but they used to just shout to each other while they were cooking dinner, and they could spend 2-3 hours simply cooking dinner because they enjoyed sitting in the kitchen and talking. And I couldn't rest because my room was so close that I could hear every word, and I felt so bad because I couldn't just go to them and tell them to just be quiet because they were just having a good time making lunch, cooking some pasta. But at the same time, I couldn't rest. It took me some time to understand one very important thing. I think it's important for everyone, but it is even more crucial for highly sensitive people, emotional people, for introverted people. I want to say that if we are tired, there's nothing we can do in this second not to be tired. If we are overstimulated, we cannot just flip the switch and decide, okay, in this second, I will not be overstimulated anymore. If the bag of our energy is empty and we are exhausted, there is nothing we can do to refill this bag. The only thing that we can do is give ourselves the right and the time to rest. That's why it is so crucial to organize your home or your flat in this way that you have this space that is only yours. It can be a very small space, but it belongs only to you. And also to organize your family life, your home life in a way that you can have these 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour just to yourself, to rest, to recharge a little bit, to refill this energy bag that is now empty. Because if you give yourself the right to do that, after that, you will be able to help your family in a much better way. You will have energy to take care of your children. You will have new strength to learn to the difficult exam or even to clean up your apartment. You will maybe feel that now you can go and talk to your flatmates for 10-15 minutes to have a little bit of fun. You can do it now because you gave yourself the right to be tired, understood why you are so tired, and you gave yourself permission to rest. Well, I wanted to underline it very clearly in this first podcast that home is the most important place for highly sensitive people, for introverted people, for those who consider themselves very emotional. And tiredness, which comes from overstimulation, is something we have every right to feel. Let's try not to compare to anybody who is next to us, because maybe that person is just in a different place of the scale of introversion and extraversion. Maybe this person has a much calmer brain that isn't agitated all the time, just like our brain. So maybe it's just easier for this person to keep higher level of energy all day. Maybe we are just different. But if we can, I know it's difficult, it's very difficult for highly sensitive people. I would really like to ask you to try not to judge yourself. Give yourself permission to be tired, to be exhausted, because it's really not your fault. Your brain has done enormous work during the day. It has analyzed incredible amount of information, and what is more important, it has analyzed all that information on a very, very deep level. So now you need time also to think about all that, to put it in the right place, on the right shelf, so to speak, in your mind, to organize it all. You need to do that to stay sane. I truly believe that. At least that's my personal experience. And you really deserve a space in your home and a time that will be devoted just for this action. I know that the first thing that you may feel inclined to say right now is that, okay, Magda, but I simply don't have time. Trust me, I understand. But I also think that it is possible to find this 10-15 minutes, especially if you consider the fact that it is very important for your health. I'm sure if you explain this to your family will help you. They will support you. If you are a person who is forced to bring work home, so you come back home in the evening, but you feel that you still have so many things to do before you can, so to speak, call it a day, try to give yourself a guilt-free 15 minutes of peace, half an hour of peace, just to recharge this empty bag of energy a little. And if you are a person who gets so easily and constantly tired, and you have checked that there are no medical reasons for it, think about it. Can it be connected with feeling overstimulated? Do you notice any moments when you feel more tired? Do you notice how fast it happens during the day? Try to think about it and try to find this moment when this tiredness appears for the first time. The last thing I would like to say today is that if all those reasons we are talking about here today haven't convinced you that it is actually very important for you to find this place in your home where you can rest and give yourself time for that during the day, let's consider one more reason. If you don't have such a space in your home and you go to bed tired in the evening, I mean tired not physically, but tired mentally, like you still feel overstimulated in the evening. First of all, you may have problems sleeping, but second of all, you may wake up and still feel tired. So I just want to say that if you maybe notice that you wake up in the morning, but you don't feel rested, you still feel tired. You feel exactly the same level of tiredness you felt in the evening. It's like your brain didn't have time to reset. I would suggest that it may be a good idea to check if you have in your home that special space, a place that is truly yours, where you can go, be alone, close the door, and rest during the day. If you notice that you actually don't have such a space in your home, try reorganizing your surroundings and reclaiming a bit of this space just for you, preferably a space with the door you can close for 15-20 minutes. And then after a week or two, when you give yourself permission every day to spend even 20 minutes in that space, check if maybe you wake up the next morning with a little bit more energy. In the next episode, we'll talk exactly about that. How to reclaim space in our home, how to organize a place in our homes that will be truly and only ours, and that will support our need for rest and reset. So in other words, we will try to create a small sanctuary, a space that will be the answer to our deepest needs, connected with our sensitivity and with our beautiful, beautiful, rich complicated inner selves. Thank you for the time you devoted to listening to this episode. I must say that I am a very shy, very introverted person, and recording this podcast, it's really for me a big step outside my comfort zone. So I just want to say thank you so much for being with me in this adventure. My name is Magdalena, and you listen to Home and Heart Methods. And today's music was kindly provided by Live Saturation on Pixabay. Thank you. See you next time.